Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Southall Show, where we look at the issues that matter to you. Tonight we've got a packed show that's sure to make you think twice about what's really going on in British politics. From pensioners feeling the cold after winter fuel cuts, to politicians giving away your hard-earned money to foreign farmers while raising taxes on small British farms, there's a lot to unpack. So grab a seat and let's dive in. First off, we've got Liz Kendall, Labour's Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. Even she's concerned about Labour's move to reduce the amount of people claiming winter fuel allowances. She sent an urgent letter to the government. She's concerned. Now, this is a tough one. We've heard all the stories already. Elderly people in the UK struggling to heat their homes for years as the cost of living soars. And what's the new government's response from this? Cutbacks that hurt the most vulnerable. The government claims it's all about saving money and means testing the payment, but at what cost? Vulnerable pensioners freezing in their homes while the elites play their games in Westminster. Folks, I think this is a disgrace. And frankly, it's one of the many reasons people are looking for change. And they're looking for change in their millions, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Next, we've got Rachel Reeves, who seems to be in hot water over her CV. Reports have surfaced about a discrepancy in her qualifications. She's claimed expertise and accolades that aren't exactly adding up. Now, I'm all for being ambitious, but when you're asking the British public to trust you with their money, it pays not to pose as an economist when really you're just Rachel from accounts. Now, there's nothing wrong with being Rachel from accounts, but just be straight about it. The public has got a right to know the truth about those leading our country. If the Labour Party wants to be taken seriously, it's time they held their own to the same standard that they hold to the rest of us. Now I'm going to look at some headlines from the news today. BBC, Smithfield and Billingsgate, meat and fish markets to close. Oh, imagine that. Make it difficult for small traders and impose ridiculous net zero targets. Just like with Sky News, Vauxhall's Luton factory to close, costing over 1,100 jobs. Another resounding victory for net zero. The Metro, how a 200-year book sparked conspiracy theories about a time-travelling Trump. Trump derangement syndrome in full swing. Now, let's talk about Mr. Popular himself, Keir Starmer. While our hard-working British farmers are being hit with higher inheritance tax rates, Starmer and his Labour Party are happily handing out £500 million, yes, over 500 million, to foreign farmers, all in the name of climate change. Meanwhile, our small family-run farms, which are essential to us in the way that they, feed us, are being crushed with inheritance tax increases. What some of Keir Starmer's fans don't realise, and it's difficult to imagine at the moment that he has any fans left, I know, but farming is one of the very few trades in the UK where someone could own £3 million worth of land and only make 40 to 50 grand a year. The valuations on inheritance tax take into account the value of the land for any purpose, not just farming. Just imagine this. Small farms fold due to the insane regulations, net zero demands, and now this inheritance tax increase. Enter stage left, Bill Gates and Larry Fink. More on that later. This isn't just a slap in the face to British farmers, it's a betrayal and perhaps something of a start of something more sinister. If this is how Labour plans to support local businesses, I hate to see what they've got in store for the rest of us down the line. Further afield, let's talk about Ukraine. You've probably heard the headlines about the UK and the US supplying Ukraine with missiles. Well, Ukraine has been firing those missiles into Russian territory, and yet we keep sending more aid, more weapons, while the conflict drags on. What does this mean for British interests? Are we truly helping Ukraine, or are we just getting dragged deeper into a conflict that doesn't serve the interests of the British people? It's a fine line, folks, and we need to ask the tough questions. Do we want to escalate into World War III? Now, During the general election, I was asked by a local radio show on how we de-escalate the Russia-Ukraine situation. I said it may not be up to the UK. It doesn't matter who the Prime Minister is. I said we need Trump to win in the White House. Is anyone surprised that eyebrows were raised when I said that? Of course not. But I'm sure that Trump will be a damn sight better than Sleepy Joe, who has made his job that extra bit more difficult during his final 2 doddering months in office. Trump will now have a much more difficult job on his hands. Now, not too far away from Joe Biden and the Democrats, let's talk about Labour and their new BFFs, best friends forever, Larry Fink and BlackRock. Ah, yes. Nothing says the People's Party quite like a cosy relationship with one of the largest investment firms in the world. It's like watching a socialist show up at a billionaire's yacht wearing a Che Guevara t-shirt saying, "No, really, I'm one of you guys. You just can't see it behind the private jets, the donated suits, glasses, and the penthouse suites for the nipper." The Labour Party, the same ones who once banged on about the workers and the common people, are now cozying up to Larry Fink, the guy who, let's face it, could buy and sell the entire British working class without blinking. It's like when you're trying to talk to your mate about his new ethical investment idea, and you realise his idea is actually just a case of, can we buy it from the administrators for a quid once it's gone woke and inevitably gone broke? Great, we're in. Just take a look at Jaguar. Nothing says copy nothing like copying Richard Ayoade's hair, shoving trite cultural dogma down our throats, and no doubt blaming the public for being phobic phobophobes when the tea-serving intern come marketing director, who's probably crossed paths with Reeves sometimes, at some point, blames you for their crap going down the pan. It will go broke and BlackRock will be there to pick up the pieces, and we may not even know about it. And finally, we have the petition calling for another general election. In mere days, 2.7 million signatures have been collected. Now that tells you everything you need to know about how fed up the public is. People are tired already of Labour's routine, failed promises, and the same elite politicians who don't listen. Whether you're on the left or the right, the call for a new election is loud and clear. Democracy isn't a one-time event. It's a living, breathing thing, and people are speaking up. They want change. Now, before anyone tries to paint me as some kind of hypocrite, because I'm aware that there was a petition to redo the Brexit vote, well, let me tell you this. We have had a Labour government. We don't want it anymore. We haven't had Brexit. Brexit has not been delivered. We have Brexit in name only. So how can we have a referendum rerun on Brexit when we haven't even had what we asked for? The 2.7 million people have come forward in numbers in such a short space of time because they feel let down. Policies that I've talked about earlier in this video are hurting people, causing genuine concern, and the people are quite frankly ready for something new. It may well be Reform UK. So thank you for listening into the show. Get in touch with me about what you'd like me to talk about next time, and have a good evening. Stay independent minded.